This is an ostrich, a couple of ostrich eggs that I got from the Renaissance Festival in Kansas City. They were broken, so I picked them up for fairly inexpensive, along with the ostrich egg canteen that I'd made in a previous video. So this is the canteen. It holds 56 ounces, I believe, which is quite a little bit of water. The other ostrich egg pieces are somewhat smaller, and I'm going to turn one into a bowl and one into a cup was the plan. And with the extra pieces that I cut off, I'm going to use down the road for try to do some inlay or messing with them just to see how they are. Ostrich egg is pretty thick and it's fairly durable. This piece, the bowl, had a crack in it, so I ended up gluing it, and over the end of it I am going to cover it with polyurethane just to keep it from staining and things along that line. But I'm using hobby files to get into it. You can use, as you can see on the table, you can use anything along the line, piece of glass, flint. The outer edge is very hard, or the outer layer of an ostrich egg is pretty hard. Those hobby files, they'll cut, but you got to work it. They tend to skate across somewhat easily, which was really surprising to me. Here you can see with the file, I've started cutting into it to take off the rough edge just to give me a smoother area. And I just cut real slow. After all, it is an egg. It is a tougher egg, but it's still an egg. I wish you could have, the original track was lost on here. It didn't pick it up, so you can't hear the file skating across the top. But nonetheless, you can actually kind of see it. And it just cuts relatively easily once you get past the surface. So I'm just taking my time cutting it down. I smoothed off some of the rough edges otherwise. This is the bowl that does have a crack in it, so I'm kind of being careful. I put some glue in the crack to hold it. Okay, on the cup, this will be a smaller cup. I think these two pieces are from two different eggs that had ended up breaking the shells. So I'm going to smooth that side down, and the high ridges around the hole. The back I'm going to leave up as a point because I thought about drilling a hole in it, but I don't think I'm going to now. I'm not going to risk blowing it up. But I'm going to just clean up all the edges, bring it down and around, take the end edge off, and use it as a small cup to where you can set it, fill it up, do whatever, and drink out of the end is kind of where I'm going for. It'll be kind of awkward. The inner shell, or the inner membrane, I'm going to peel out before I seal coat it, which will help keep everything decent. After doing this much work, I tend to want to not have them break haphazardly. You can see right here and over here in this area, I've cut through the shell. You can feel it when your file cuts through, it gets a lot tougher. Yeah, this is an ostrich egg, but it's still an egg, so it's tougher than normal, but you got to be careful with it yet. This part here, the outer part, is kind of tough to get through. You can hear the file, it wants to skate across the top. The eggshell is hard enough, it makes this, granted this is a cheap hobby file, but it still makes it kind of skate across the top. It don't really cut that easy. But I'm almost through. I glued up a crack. I'm gonna polyurethane it, just since the eggshell's porous. I actually want to use it and it'll make it stronger. So I don't want to go to this much work just to watch it explode on my first use. Got winter coming on, and this is the last bit of my ostrich egg video. Granted, out here in the wilds of Kansas, we don't have a whole lot of ostriches running around. I'm not even going to pretend I stole one. Didn't feel like outrunning it, whatever. I found one at the rent fair, a broken one, that I got pieces of and I wanted to play with just to see how it worked. Because I've already made in a previous video my ostrich egg canteen. And this thing will hold, I think, 56 ounces of water, which is quite a large amount. And this is the bowl and the cup. I've polyurethaned it. This I'm going to use as the cup. And this is the bowl. Now the cup, I think it was, now the bowl had a crack in it, which I glued to keep it from cracking any further and to break it. You can tell they're a fairly thick shell, and they're actually, for an egg, they're really tough. But then again, they're not a brick, so you know, you want to be careful. You know, you can, they're decent. Granted, these will never see the field. This is the sort of thing you make around here to impress your office friends or whatever. And like I said, chances of finding these out in the wild are slim to none here. If you happen to be out somewhere, these techniques work. I did use a file to cut these. A piece of flint, stone, or whatever you could get with a nice sharp edge, even a piece of broken glass if you could find it. You could carve this out given a little bit of time. These I polyurethaned because I didn't want the shells tend to be somewhat porous. I did not want it staining and leaching through. These are not easy to get, so I figured why run it. The bowl will hold a fairly large amount. This shell isn't as big as the other one, but they do work. Usually with the canteen you just drink straight out of it, but the idea is the cup works. You could dip right out of a stream with this. If you had the canteen, you drink out of it probably. But the nice thing is you don't have to risk your canteen. You could hang it up. You could have a hole born in it, carry it with a string. I haven't got that far yet. And the bowl, it's a bowl. But this is the ostrich egg bowl set that I now have. Easy to make. If you can find one, give it a rip. You'll like it. Smash the subscribe button, such as you would, you'll feel some foe.